All right, it's no big secret that I was not destined to have a great head of hair, and that's okay. I can live with it because I've got a smoke show of a wife who dresses up in weird shit for me when I asked her to, crew of beautiful and healthy children who every so often will draw blood on one another. I mean, I outkicked my coverage, and I know that, and I appreciate that. That's one of the things I'm thankful for, but I'll be goddamned if I did not want to rock that remarkable mullet that Kurt Russell perfected 40 years ago in John Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China from 1986. This man, I mean, he made it cool to wear that hair. Eddie Guerrero perfected it down the line, but he really brought it into the forefront with the way he portrayed this character and the look that he brought to the silver screen. I mean, he got to hold court on a CB radio. He made Hall of Fame Fox Kim Cattrall swoon in this one. Oh, baby, it's time to talk about 1986's Big Trouble in Little China. Let's get into it. This movie kicks off like most popular films always do, and it's a crowd pleaser whenever you get a chance to sit down and speak to a lawyer, which is what Egg Shan is doing. He's trying to talk about the incident that happened, and I like how they did this. They set it up for we're looking at it after everything had ended, and we're getting tidbits right before we jog into the main meat of the film. And Egg is repeatedly telling this lawyer, leave Jack Burton alone. Jack Burton's the hero. Jack Burton saved us. So from the get-go, they're framing Jack Burton as sort of the guy. And I dug that. It made me want to learn who Jack Burton was. And then to prove that this magic that the lawyer keeps asking about is real, Egg will hold his hands apart like this and send strands of electricity crackling between the two. And then he assures the lawyer, hey, that was nothing. That's nothing. That's always how it begins, though. It starts off as something small. And then, boom, we're into a movie. We're moving on to a big rig, rambling down a road, dusty back road as the daylight starts to fade out. And, God damn it, that's when we meet him. Jack Burton, played by Kurt Russell himself. I mean, the energy and the gusto that Kurt Russell brings to this role from the get-go, from the first word he utters on that CB radio, is just infectious. I mean, he's filibustering, he's out there, he's entertaining folks, and he's putting on a show much like any other 40-year-old would do today on YouTube. Back in the day, it was a CB radio. And we're shown the Golden Gate Bridge in the very next scene, right before Jack motors towards Chinatown. Whatever he's hauling, he drops the trailer and he winds up gambling the night away with his buddy Wang. Now, I get it. A series of cold beers and laughs with others just had to feel really good for over-the-road trucker. I don't think I could do that job. And man, does Jack ever clean these guys out of their money. I mean, so much so that when the sun comes up, the gamblers have completely cleared out, leaving just Wang there to bitterly request a chance to win back nothing or double, as he puts it. Now, this is where we get that really cool scene, and I'm sure you've seen in trailers or in flashbacks. It's Wang insists that he's going to take this giant knife he's got and he's going to cut a beer bottle in half. Doesn't manage to do it. Jack winds up using those reflexes of his to catch it and leaving Wang even further into debt to Mr. Jack Burton. Now, the promise of getting paid leads Jack to tag along with Wang to the airport because he's going there to pick up his girlfriend, Miao Yen. He's very excited about it. And it's in Jack's truck on the way to the airport that we hear Wang go on and on about how much he loves this girl. So right away, they're setting the seeds for how important this relationship is to Wang. And Jack's annoyed. He just wants to get paid and move on to the next thing. But then he sees Gracie Law, played by 80s queen Kim Cattrall, across the way, catches his eye immediately, and he puts the full court press on Gracie, and he's immediately dismissed because she's there to pick up her own female friend, a girl named Tara. Now, everybody's plan, it just kind of goes to shit when the Lords of Death shows up, and they dress exactly like they sound. They brush past them, piss Jack off, and then they ultimately end up kidnapping Miao Yin. And I gotta pause for just a second to tell you that even though I grew up watching horror films, this movie and then this girl getting kidnapped, it terrified me. The idea of getting kidnapped, getting forcefully taken away from people that you love and people that love you, really messed with my head as a kid. Now, this is growing up during the 80s, And I remember still going to Eagle Country Market, which was our grocery store, and there was a big corkboard as you leave the grocery store with missing kid posters. And it just, every time I saw them, it just upset me. It just depressed me. And it's weird because, you know, the grocery stores, I don't know if you guys remember back in the day, they used to have the little cards that would hang up for movie rentals, and you grab the card if it was there, and you take it to the counter and get yourself a VHS tape. And I looked forward to that part of going to the grocery store, but as I was leaving, I really dreaded seeing that corkboard, because seeing people missing, seeing kids missing, it just bummed me out. So kidnapping, that whole thing, that was my biggest fear as a kid. I wasn't scared of Freddy Krueger so much as I was somebody coming into my house and ripping me away from my folks and my brother and my sister. It just really, really messed with me. In my dreams, though, I always had a lightsaber, so that shit always happens a little bit differently when I'm carrying one of those. But with the love of Wang's life being taken right in front of him, I felt really terrible for that dude off the bat. And also the line that Jack uses when the Lords of Death almost run them over with that little car of theirs, that little Z28, with Miao Yin tied up in that tight trunk. You know, he looks at him and he goes, "Son of a bitch must pay." I cannot tell you how big of a staple of my childhood was on the playground. I said that phrase numerous times. Got in trouble for it a lot, but it was a go-to phrase whenever somebody pissed me off.
Son of a bitch must pay.
Now they think they know where these guys hang out, so they set out to rescue the green-eyed girlie, but they run into a funeral procession that turns into gang warfare between heavily armed bad guys wearing red sashes calling themselves the Wing Kong and a group of good guys wearing yellow that call themselves the Chang Sings. And I dug all this. I ate this right up because I'm a Star Wars guy, and the whole red means bad and all other colors mean good symbolism was something I simply grew up on. I mean, just look at Bruce Leroy and Shonuff and what they did to one another with the glow. Love it. Anytime you have that in a movie, I'm gaming. So the battle itself is a bloodbath, and the good guys, they start serving out beatings to the bad guys up until the point of the 3 storms. Strangely dressed dudes with straw hats and really remarkable powers. They show up and they just piss on everybody's parade. Jack and Wang, they wind up getting past those dudes, but then they wind up running into our evil entity of the film named Lo Pan. Now, Lo Pan looks at Jack and he emits light from his eyes and his mouth that blind Jack temporarily. Wang is able to drag him away, splash some dirty gutter water in his face, and restore his vision, so they're able to keep trying to move away from a very tense, very dangerous situation. Just as soon as they've gathered their wits, they wind up at Wang's uncle's place where Gracie Law arrives. Now, immediately whenever Gracie and Jack are around each other, Jack doesn't think properly and he starts flirting with her, even though he's trying to find out insurance information for his truck that he no longer has. Even though he's wearing some blue kimono, he's still doing his thing, rocking the mullet, trying to get in where he fits in. And then the crew comes to the realization that the Lords of Death have taken Miao Ying to a place called the White Tiger to sell her. And the plan they come up with is for Jack to go in looking like a just mild-mannered salesman, glasses and all, looking for a good time, specifically requesting a girl with green eyes because Chinese girls don't often have green eyes. So if she's there, she's going to be a specialty, and there's only really going to be one girl they can bring out to him. Unfortunately, though, they aren't the only ones with eyes on Miao Ying. The 3 storms show up, rip a hole in the roof, wind up carrying Wang's beloved out into the sky, riding a bolt of lightning. Could not have been a cooler exit. I know they were the bad guys, but they sure as hell know how to make an entrance. That was really impressive stuff. And it really drives home the point that these 3 storms are just a different type of bad guy. And you have to contend with 3 of them all before you get to the big boss. Love the way they set the whole thing up. I really dig it. We don't even make it halfway through this film, and there's a whole lot of wild shit already happening. I mean, the Elders, which is essentially Wang's uncle and Egg Shan, they're concerned about Lo Pan's sudden emergence, and now him having this girl. Wang at this point is on a full suicide mission to get his beloved back, and Jack is not going to let him go about this himself. He's going to dive right into the fray with him. They barge into this lair disguised as phone repair guys, and they do some fast talking, and they slip past the guard, and they're exploring, and they're trying to figure out what's what. And then ultimately they wind up being submerged in an elevator that fills with water, narrowly escape this watery death only to stumble upon one of the storms, get their ass kicked, get strapped to wheelchairs, and then they meet the old man version of Lo Pan, who apparently has a flesh-eating curse put upon him that he must lift from his gods. He looks very terrifying. It's funny because when he transforms from little old man Lo Pan to big giant Lo Pan that blinded Jack Burton earlier in the film, his skin starts to like light up and glow, and it kind of looks like, I don't know if you're a kid, you ever put your thumb over your flashlight and you see how red or how lit up your thumb gets. I had a weird childhood, but that's what the guy looks like. And this old man version is explaining to Jack and Wang that he needs to marry a green-eyed girl who he can then sacrifice to appease his god, and he can become more than just a ghostly figure with flashlights for his eyes. That's the overall game plan of our bad guy here, much to the dismay of Wang, because he'd like his girlfriend back in one piece. He sure as hell doesn't want her marrying an evil old sorcerer. I mean, that makes for a bad day. So Gracie moves in with Eddie, who's the maitre d' at Wang's restaurant, and Margot, who I believe is working with Gracie in some capacity. She's kind of sweet on Eddie, but we don't have time to talk about that kind of romance. They move in and do their best to try to rescue the boys, but then they get captured themselves along the way. And it's up to the crafty Jack and Wang, who wind up escaping, to then find the girls and make their way out of this lair. Now, the girls are being kept in like a cage setup, which sort of furthers the idea that they're being trafficked. And that to me, that's pretty heinous. It's heinous today. It's heinous back then. The whole notion of it really creeps me out. Jack and Gracie, after he gets them free, they have a tender moment during the escape in the sewers, were super romantic, right? But then she ultimately winds up being captured again, which drove me crazy because we love Kim Cattrall and we want her to be safe. But she falls into the hands of this big furry beast that looks like one of the vampires from Fright Night. The minute that Lo Pan realizes Gracie has green eyes and both she and Miao Yin pass the test of the burning blade, man decides he's going to marry them both, which I can't fault him. I get it. I understand the concept. I had thoughts of that at one point myself, but ultimately, twice the headache, twice the drama. You're setting yourself up for failure, big guy, and you're just now starting to try to get over this human flesh-eating disease thing, curse you've got bestowed on you. I don't get it, man. Somebody needs to talk some sense into him. Climax of this movie was really strong, though. I mean, we've got Jack, Wang, Egg, and then the Yellow Sash is storming into the belly of the beast to face off with Lo Pan, his three storms, the guys in red. I mean, the beasts from Fright Night are there. There's 2 or 3 of them running around, and there's an eyeball monster that looks like one of the grossest things I've ever seen in my life. In any movie, this thing is so nasty. And we've got front row seats for Wang being an ultimate badass. I mean, I cannot stress enough how well they sell this guy as being that guy in this film. And on top of all the awesome sauce that I just poured out for you, Egg and Lo Pan get in this magic battle that involves a green beam of light from the bad guy, so it's a little bit of a change up. And then we get a purple beam from Egg, and what happens when they collide is we see this vision, this magical vision of like rock'em sock'em shoguns. And it's cheesy, but it's that good kind of cheesy. It's that good kind of 80s fun that you just watch. And it's a short, brief enough scene to where they don't overdo it. They don't spoil you with too much, but I thought it was fun. And they give you a line at the end where Lo Pan tells Egg, "You never could beat me." So I just dig the fact that they give you just a taste of the lore. Like, this is something that's been going on. And it's a great line from Egg that we get somewhat towards the end of the film where he says, "Only a dream can kill a dream." I mean, Egg's just cold as ice in this movie. Very underrated in my opinion. Jack talking shit to Lo Pan with Gracie's lipstick all over his mouth and teeth is one of those scenes that I'm always going to remember for the rest of my life. Super funny. Man winds up getting his truck back. He kisses a pretty girl, and then he rides off into a thunderstorm, talking his talk on the CB radio like only he was meant to do. I mean, his parting line to Wang when he's saying his goodbyes after he's got his check from Wang, He looks at Wang at the door as he's about to walk off, and he says, "We really shook the pillars of heaven, didn't we?" Just such good dialogue. The lines are so crisp. They're delivered so well. You believe a lot of these interactions between these people. I mean, the story itself is just out there, right? But that's just what you have to have that. Like, disconnect from reality every once in a while and think that could be something out there that we just can't possibly wrap our conditioned minds around. So everything they did here in this movie, I really enjoyed. And I didn't understand, I don't get why we didn't get more Jack Burton type stories. I mean, this could have easily been like a Jack Ryan 007 type of character for just a fun run. He's got all these ramshackle qualities, but he just makes you want to watch him because you have so many more questions when the movie's over with. Like, where do these reflexes he's got come from? You know, I don't think they harken back to him being an athlete of any kind. They don't really give us a ton of backstory. Where does he get the ability to just kind of do some of this stuff? Because at the very end of the movie, Lopan chucks a knife at him and he plucks it out of the air and ends that dude then and there.
Good night. Goodbye, Miss Burton.
Overall, everything in this movie just works. It's got so much comedy, but it doesn't feel like it's all crowbarred in. I mean, serious horror elements, action and adventure throughout the whole thing, and you even get the slightest bit of romance sprinkled in every once in a while. You know, obviously you've got Wang and Miao Yin. The fact that he's going to the extent that he's going through to get his girl back is adorable. Jack and Gracie, they're falling for each other over the course of all this insanity. Eddie and Margot, I think, wind up getting together, or at least are strongly alluded to be getting together later that evening. And this is all happening amidst really the worst set of circumstances you can find yourself in. And John Carpenter's in his bag, man. He gave us Halloween, Escape from New York, and now this. 10 out of 10. This is a perfect film. This is what a movie should be. And I struggled with whether or not to just go full out and give it a 10. It's just my opinion. But, you know, because Halloween is a 10. There's only a handful of movies out there that you can really consider perfect on a lot of different levels. But this, I feel like, is just over the top. It's enjoyable. It's from the very opening scene, you're just glued to this story that's unfolding in front of you. The dialogue, the way they converse with each other, the stories that they tell, the way they explain it but not give you too much, but still leave you wanting more. And they could have built off of this, because at the very end, Jack's driving away. He's happy. He's in his rainstorm, but he's driving. He's talking on a CB radio, and one of those furry little bastards pops up from the back of his truck. So they could have easily taken you on another ride, and maybe they should have, but Kurt Russell was about to be a mega star, so he probably was a little bit harder to get at that point. Long way of me saying, go see this movie if by some weird happenstance you've never seen it before, because it's literally that good. If you agree with me, let me know. If you disagree with me, let me know. I would love to talk about this movie with you guys. Anybody that's watching this, please take a moment to comment on the video, like the video, think about subscribing and sticking around. By doing all those things, this funky little algorithm will push this out to more people, and we can have more discussions about films like Big Trouble in Little China. We can talk about whether it's a 10. I'm all for it. So I appreciate you watching. This is Matt Essex. I am Aging Gracefully. That's backwards, but you know the drill. See you on the other side.